My daughter-in-law threw a surprise party for my son at my own country estate. I wasn't invited, she posted. Our home, our party, our family. I stayed silent. At 11 p.m., I shut off the power generator. Total darkness. They heard a voice. 11 p.m. My hand was clammy, clutching the generator's remote control. From across the property, I could hear the laughter, the loud music, the clinking of glasses, my estate, my 30 years of sweat. And there I was, hiding like an intruder on my own land. I took a deep breath and pressed the button. Click. Darkness swallowed everything. A second of silence, then the screams began, sharp, desperate. The kind of scream that comes out when you lose the ground beneath your feet without warning. I picked up the microphone connected to the loudspeakers I had secretly installed around the estate. My voice came out distorted, deep, almost unrecognizable. This property has an owner, and she is watching every single one of you. The silence that followed was even more terrifying than the screams. I could hear the sound of cell phones being hastily turned on, faint lights flickering in the darkness like terrified fireflies. You trespassed, you lied, you stole, everything is being recorded. The authorities already know. Then came the scramble, stumbling, cursing. Someone fell into the pool, someone else knocked over the cake table. It was delicious chaos. But how did I get here? How did a 68-year-old widow, a devoted mother, end up cutting the power to her own estate to kick out her own son? Let me go back, because this story didn't begin that night. It began long before. And what you're about to hear will make your blood boil just as much as mine did. If you've ever felt like someone in your family treated you like a doormat, that they used your generosity as a weakness, then you'll understand every word I'm about to say. And if you haven't been through it yet, pay attention, because this can happen to anyone. My name is Helen, and this is the story of how I almost lost everything I built, and how I reclaimed my dignity in the dark. If you want to hear real stories of people who stood up when everyone expected them to fall, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next isn't a fairy tale. It's real life, raw and unfiltered. But before I tell you how I got to that blackout, I need you to understand who I am, and most importantly, what that estate means. Because it wasn't just a piece of land. It was every drop of sweat from me and my late husband, Walter, transformed into roots, bricks, a dream, a 12-acre property in the Hudson Valley, upstate New York. When I say that, people think of luxury, of easy money. They don't know a thing. Every inch of that land cost us blood. My husband, Walter, was a construction worker. I was a public school teacher. We weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. What we had was willpower and a stubborn streak a mile wide that refused to accept that working people couldn't have their own little piece of paradise. We bought the land in 1987. It was overgrown, full of snakes, hard soil. Walter would spend the week working in New York City, and every weekend we'd go up there. He'd dig, put up walls, I'd carry bricks, mix mortar, paint. Our children, Daniel and Victoria, grew up watching us build that place with our own hands. It took us 30 years. 30. No contractor did it. We did. The main house has 5-bedroom suites, each decorated with things we found on simple road trips through the countryside. The party hall was built brick by brick during a summer so hot I fainted twice. The heated pool was the dream we realized when Walter finally retired. The soccer field. He built it himself because he wanted to see his grandkids playing there one day. The custom-built brick barbecue is enormous. Walter used to say it had to be big enough for a whole pig for when the entire family came over. He loved having people over. He'd host barbecues that lasted all day. He'd play his old guitar, tell bad jokes. The estate was the happiest place on earth. Until 2018, when he had a massive heart attack. He collapsed on the porch, looking at the sunset he loved so much. There was no time for goodbyes, no time for anything. I became a widow at 61. And suddenly that immense place became too empty, too quiet. I would walk through the rooms and hear the echo of my own footsteps. I'd see the chair where he used to sit, his mug still in the cupboard, his slippers left by the door. I thought about selling it. I swear I did. But every time I considered it, it felt like I was betraying our history. So I decided I would keep it standing, alone if I had to. My children had their own lives. Daniel, the oldest, 43, a lawyer, was always the responsible one. Serious, focused, the type who plans for the future. We paid for his entire private college education, gave him the down payment for his apartment in Brooklyn. We helped whenever he needed it. Victoria, 39, a doctor, more easygoing, married to Rob, a gym teacher. They have 2 children, my grandkids Leo and Mia. I helped them financially too. I always made a point of it, because that's what parents did, right? They sacrificed, they gave, they built bridges so their children wouldn't have to swim as hard as we did. After Walter's death, the estate became my purpose. I'd wake up early, go there at least twice a week. I tended to the garden, cleaned, organized. I had a caretaker, Marlene, who helped me, but I made a point of being present. It was my connection to him, my way of keeping Walter alive. The property taxes alone were $5,000 a year. The electricity, depending on the month, hit $300. Maintenance for the pool, the field, the fruit trees, another $500 a month. I had my teacher's pension and Walter's survivor benefits. It was enough, tight at times, but enough. I never complained, because that place was worth every penny. A real estate agent offered me $1, $5 million for the property. I refused on the spot. It wasn't about money. It was about memory, about dignity, about not giving up what we fought so hard to have. Daniel even commented at the time, "Mom, that's a lot of money. You could sell, buy a smaller apartment, live comfortably." I looked at him and said, "Son, I already live comfortably. This estate isn't a burden. It's my roots." He didn't insist then, but I should have noticed the different gleam in his eye when I mentioned the value. I should have realized that some children look at their parents and see an estate before they see a person. I should have realized that the woman he had chosen to marry saw that estate with eyes that were already redecorating, renovating, posting on social media. But I didn't realize it because a mother always thinks she knows her children, always thinks that love is enough of a guarantee against betrayal. And that's when it all started to crumble, slowly, silently, like termites eating from the inside until the entire structure gives way. Because 4 years ago, Daniel introduced me to Brittany, and I, naive, smiled and hugged the woman who would try to rob me of everything. Brittany was 35 when she met my son. An ad executive, platinum blonde hair, the kind that costs a fortune to maintain. Nails always impeccable, gel, perfect French manicure, designer clothes, a brand name purse, high heels even to go to the corner store. The first time she set foot on the estate, it was like she'd walked into a showroom. She didn't look at the trees we planted. She looked at the potential. She didn't see the history. She saw an Instagram post. "What an incredible space, Mom," she said with that enthusiasm that seemed rehearsed. "You could do so much here. Events, weddings, themed parties." I smiled politely. "We just use it for the family. It's our little peaceful spot." She let out a little laugh. "Peace is good, but a place like this just sitting here is a waste, isn't it?" Walter always said I had a sixth sense for fake people. That day my stomach turned, but I swept the feeling under the rug. After all, my son was in love. And what mother wants to spoil her son's happiness? The wedding was big, expensive. Brittany made sure every detail was perfect. The ceremony was at a historic farm in the Hudson Valley, with catering that cost $20,000 and decorations that looked like they were out of a magazine. Daniel paid for half. I helped with $10,000. Her parents, business owners from upstate, covered the rest. During the reception, Brittany pulled me aside. Bright white smile, overpowering perfume. "Mom, thank you for everything. You're an amazing mother." A calculated pause. "You know, Daniel and I were talking. When we have kids, it would be so wonderful for them to grow up coming to the estate every weekend, like to create memories, you know?" My heart warmed. "Of course, sweetie, the estate is for the family." She squeezed my hand. Too hard. Exactly, for the family. At the time, I thought it was affectionate. Today, I see it was a claim. The first few months were quiet. They'd come over on Sundays. Brittany would take 1,000 photos, post everything, always tagging the location, always with captions like, "Our refuge," or "Family is everything." I even thought it was cute. But then the suggestions started. Mom, why don't you change the color of the facade? This beige is a bit 90s. This barbecue pit is so big, but it looks a bit old, right? A stainless steel one would look amazing. That guest room could be an office. Daniel works so much, it would be perfect. I would brush it off. I'd say I liked things as they were, that the house had Walter's and my touch. Brittany would smile, but the smile never reached her eyes. One day, she showed up with an interior decorator without telling me. Surprise, Mom! I hired Cynthia here to give us some modernization ideas, just to give the place a facelift, to increase its value. I froze. Brittany, I didn't ask for this. I know. It's a gift from me. You deserve to live in an updated space. The decorator started measuring, taking notes, suggesting demolitions. Demolitions? In my house. I took a deep breath. Ma'am, thank you, but that won't be necessary. Brittany, I need to speak with you. I took her out to the porch, away from the decorator. Honey, I appreciate the thought. But this house doesn't need a facelift. It's perfect as it is. Every corner holds a memory. I'm not changing that. Brittany crossed her arms. Her posture shifted. Okay, Mom, but don't you think you're a little too attached? I mean, Walter's gone. Life moves on. I felt a knife in my chest. Brittany, never speak of my husband that way again. She rolled her eyes. For the first time, I saw who she really was. Wow, sorry, I didn't mean to offend. It's just that you're so resistant to change. It's not healthy. Daniel appeared just then. Everything okay here? Brittany transformed. Syrupy voice, teary eyes. It's fine, honey. I was just trying to help your mom, and she got angry with me. I looked at my son, expecting him to defend me, to say he understood that house was sacred. But he just sighed, tired, as if I were the problem. Mom, Brittany was just trying to help. You don't have to be so rigid. Rigid? Me, who built that place with my own hands? They left early that day. Brittany didn't even say goodbye. I stayed alone on the porch, watching the sunset, the same one Walter used to watch. And for the first time since he died, I felt completely alone, because I realized the threat wasn't coming from the outside. It was coming from within my own family. Marlene, the caretaker, brought me a coffee. She sat beside me. Mrs. Helen, that girl is no good. She's always sizing things up with her eyes. The other day, she asked how much the property is worth. My blood ran cold. Are you sure? Positive. I told her I didn't know, but she insisted. I thanked her for the coffee but couldn't drink it. The lump in my throat was too big. That night, alone in my apartment in the city, I looked at old photos. Me and Walter, young, covered in cement dust, smiling. Baby Daniel in his arms. Victoria learning to walk on the lawn that barely existed yet. Was I being paranoid? Was it just mother-in-law jealousy? But something inside me, that sixth sense Walter valued so much, was screaming, "Be careful." Brittany didn't want to help. She wanted to conquer. And the worst part was, my son couldn't see it. Or even worse, he could see it and was choosing her. 6 months after the incident with the decorator, things seemed to have gone back to normal. Brittany was quieter. Daniel would visit me alone sometimes. I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought I had overreacted. What a fool I was. On a Wednesday afternoon, Daniel showed up at the estate unannounced. That was strange. He always called first. A lawyer's job is hectic. He wasn't in the habit of making surprise visits midweek. I was sitting on the porch, sipping iced tea when I heard his car at the entrance. I got up, excited. Son, what a nice surprise. He got out of the car slowly, hands in his pockets, the posture of someone who has rehearsed a difficult conversation. Hi, Mom. Can I sit? Of course. Want some coffee? I made cornbread today. No, thanks. He sat, but he wouldn't look me in the eye. Mom, I need to talk to you about something serious. My heart raced. Sickness, divorce, money? Go on, son. You're worrying me now. He took a deep breath. It's about the estate. Silence. Brittany and I were thinking, You spend most of your time in your apartment in the city, right? You come here 2-3 times a week at most. The place sits empty. It's too big for one person. I didn't like where this was going. Daniel, I take very good care of this place. Marlene helps me. Everything is in order. I know, Mom. That's not it. A pause. We were thinking about drawing up a life estate deed. You'd still be the legal owner. Everything stays in your name. But we would take over the care. The maintenance, we could use it on weekends. It would be good for everyone. Life estate. The words echoed in my head like a gunshot. Daniel, are you asking me to hand over the use of my home? It's not handing it over, Mom. It's sharing. You don't use it that much anyway. Who says I don't use it? He sighed impatiently. Mom, be honest. You come here, stay for a few hours, and go back to the city. This place sits empty all week. It's a waste. We could optimize it, host events, even rent it out occasionally to cover the costs. Rent it out? I stood up from my chair. You want to rent out the house your father built with his own hands? You don't have to be so dramatic. Dramatic. He called me dramatic. Daniel, this estate isn't an investment, it's our life. It's every weekend your father spent here instead of resting. It's every brick I carried when I was pregnant with you. It's where his ashes are scattered under that old oak tree. He turned red. Mom, that's exactly why. You're stuck in the past. Dad is gone. Life moves on. We need to be practical. Practical? Who taught you to talk like that? It was her, wasn't it? Don't bring Brittany into this. She is in the middle of this. I bet it was her who put this idea in your head. Daniel stood up, agitated. Brittany only wants what's best for our family. Unlike you, who'd rather let this place fall apart than let us do something productive with it. The words fall apart cut the air like a razor. I stood there in silence, looking at my son, at the man I had carried, nursed, taught to walk, to read, to be a good person, and I saw a stranger in front of me. Daniel, do you really think I'm letting this place fall apart? He looked away. I think you're too attached to material things, and that's not healthy. Attached to material things. 30 years of sweat had become an attachment. Get out of my house. He blinked, confused. Mom? I said, get out of my house. You're overreacting now. Out, Daniel. He grabbed his car keys, annoyed. Fine. I'm leaving. But when you come to your senses and realize I'm right, we'll talk again. He got in his car, slammed the door, and sped off, kicking up dust on the dirt road. I stood on the porch, trembling, not from fear, but from rage. Marlene appeared with a glass of water. Mrs. Helen, breathe. This isn't good for your heart. I drank the water in one gulp. Marlene, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong in raising him? She held my hand, calloused, warm, real. You didn't go wrong. But that woman has a silver tongue, and a man in love is blind and deaf. That night, I went back to my apartment in the city with a broken heart. I called Victoria, told her everything. She was silent for a few seconds. Then she said quietly, Mom, I need to tell you something. Brittany created a WhatsApp group. Her, Daniel, me, and Rob. It's called The Miller Family Planning. My blood ran cold. Planning for what? The estate, Mom. She's trying to convince everyone that you can't take care of it alone anymore, that we need to take over the management. Her words, not mine. I felt the floor disappear from under my feet. And you? Do you agree with this? No. Mom, I told them it's absurd, that you're lucid, healthy, your own woman. But Daniel, Mom, Daniel is on her side. I hung up the phone, sat on the sofa, and for the first time in 7 years, since Walter's death, I cried out of despair. Because I realized it wasn't just about the estate. It was about control. It was about them deciding my future without consulting me. It was about them turning me into an incapable, disposable old woman just to justify their theft. And the worst part was, my own son was leading the charge. I spent the entire night awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that WhatsApp group that existed without my knowledge, planning my life, my property, my future, as if I didn't exist. The next morning, Victoria called me early. "Mom, I'm going to add you to the group. You need to see what's happening." "Honey, I don't know if I want to." "Mom, you need to see." A few minutes later, the notification popped up. "Victoria has added you to the Miller family. Planning." I opened it. 47 unread messages. I started reading, and every word was a stab. Brittany, 3 days ago. "Guys, we need to have a serious talk about Helen's situation. She's not managing the estate on her own anymore. The place is falling apart." Falling apart? I had just painted the outer fence. Daniel. "True. I talked to her yesterday. I tried to suggest the life estate. She freaked out. Got hysterical." Hysterical. He called me hysterical for defending what was mine. Brittany. "Honey, it's normal. The elderly get very attached. Sometimes they lose their grip on reality. We need to act for her own good, even if she doesn't understand it now." The elderly lose their grip on reality. My hand was shaking as I held the phone. Rob, Victoria's husband. "Guys, with all due respect, shouldn't we be talking with Helen, not about her?" Brittany. "Rob, I get your point. But you don't know your mother-in-law as well as we do. She's stubborn. If we don't take the reins, she's going to end up losing everything. What if she falls, gets hurt there alone? Who's going to be responsible? Us." Stubborn. That word again. Daniel. "Brittany's right. My mom has always been difficult to deal with when contradicted. We need to think strategically." Strategically. My son was plotting against me. Brittany. "Okay, team, here's my suggestion. We take over management of the estate. We can even create some extra income by renting it out for events. We'll split the profits with Helen. She can still go there whenever she wants, but we'll be in control, keep her from making any mistakes." Mistakes? Taking care of what was mine was a mistake. Daniel. "I like it. But she needs to sign the life estate deed. How do we convince her?" Brittany. "Leave it to me. I'm going to talk to a lawyer friend of mine. There are some legal loopholes when a person is elderly and lives alone. We could argue incapacity to manage her assets." Incapacity to manage assets. They wanted to declare me incompetent. Victoria. "Guys, are you hearing yourselves? My mom is 68, not 98. She's a retired teacher, a widow, she's healthy. You can't do this to her." Brittany. "Victoria, no one is doing anything bad. It's for her protection. One day you'll understand." Victoria. "Protection is respecting her autonomy." Daniel. "Oh, give it a rest, Victoria. You were always Mom's favorite. You can't see things rationally. We have to act." Mom's favorite. As if a mother's love was about favoritism. I kept reading. There were messages about how much each part of the estate was worth, how much they could charge for event rentals, about renovations they would do, about how they would convince lawyers, about how they would push me out of my own home. I stopped reading when I got to a message from Brittany from 2 days ago. Brittany. "Hey guys. I got a copy of the estate key from the local locksmith. I told him Helen authorized it. Now we have access whenever we need." A winking emoji. Culpable. Criminal. She had stolen the key to my house. I called the locksmith immediately. "Mr. Adams, did a woman named Brittany get a copy of my keys?" An embarrassed silence. "Mrs. Miller, she said you had asked for it. I thought, you gave someone a copy of my house keys without confirming with me?" "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Miller. She seemed so sure, said she was your daughter-in-law." I hung up, took a deep breath, and made the first strategic decision. I wasn't going to react with emotion. I was going to react with intelligence. I called a different locksmith. I had all the locks on the estate changed that same day. I spent $600 on high-security locks with keys that couldn't be copied without ID. I didn't tell anyone. I installed 3 hidden security cameras, one at the entrance, one by the barbecue pit, one in the party hall. They were discreet, no blinking lights, connected directly to my phone. Marlene helped me. "Mrs. Helen, you're doing the right thing. These people are no good." I went back to the WhatsApp group. I didn't write anything. I just watched. Brittany kept planning. Daniel kept agreeing. Rob and Victoria kept trying to argue but were ignored. Then came the message that changed everything. Brittany. Okay, guys, it's decided. Next week we're going over there. We'll talk to Helen firmly, and if she doesn't agree, we'll file a court petition. I have a lawyer who can fast-track the process. Daniel. Agreed. Enough waiting for her to come to her senses. Come to her senses? I looked at that screen, at my son's name, at that woman's name, and I realized that crying wouldn't solve it. Screaming wouldn't solve it. Begging wouldn't solve it. Because when someone decides you don't matter, no emotional argument works. I needed a strategy. I needed proof. I needed a plan. I picked up the phone, called a lawyer a friend had recommended, Mr. Evans, a specialist in family and property law. I scheduled a meeting for that same afternoon. When I hung up, I looked out my apartment window. The sky was overcast. It was going to rain. But inside me, for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt determination. Because I had built that estate. I had sweated, bled, and cried for that land. And no one was going to take it from me as long as I had the strength to fight. Not even my own son. Mr. Evans was about 55, with graying hair and discreet glasses. His office was in an old downtown building, the kind with a creaky, grated elevator. Nothing fancy. But the way he greeted me, looking me in the eye, shaking my hand firmly, made me feel I had chosen right. Mrs. Miller, please, sit. Tell me everything. And I told him. I showed him the group messages, the receipt for the new locks. I told him about the stolen key, the life estate suggestions, the conversation with Daniel. He took notes slowly, without interrupting me. When I finished, he took off his glasses and looked at me with a seriousness that gave me chills. Mrs. Miller, you have a very strong case. What they are doing is financial abuse. It's a crime. The trespassing, the unauthorized copying of keys, the attempts at psychological coercion, all of it is grounds for a lawsuit. My heart sped up. I can sue my own son? You can, and frankly, you should. But, he paused. Do you really want to go down that road? A lawsuit against your son becomes a lifelong war. I shook my head. I don't want a war. I just want them to leave me in peace. Then I suggest the following. We put together a complete file. Screenshots, recordings, witnesses. We keep it as an ace in the hole. If they try anything legal against you, we counterattack with everything we've got. But first, let's wait for their next move. Wait, but they'll continue. Exactly. And we'll document every step. The more rope we give them, the more they'll hang themselves. I left the office with a knot in my stomach, but also with a plan. 3 days later, on a Saturday morning, I got an alert on my phone. The estate's cameras detected movement. I opened the app and froze. Brittany and Daniel were there, at my estate, without permission, without notice. She had tried to use the old key. It didn't work. So they broke in. I saw it on the footage. Daniel forced open the kitchen window until the latch gave. Breaking and entering caught on tape. But I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because I wanted to see how far they would go. I watched everything on my phone. Brittany walking through the house as if she owned it, opening cabinets, measuring spaces, taking pictures. Honey, look at this hall. You could easily fit 80 people. We could charge $2,000 to rent it for a party. In 2 months, it would pay for the renovation. Daniel wandered through the rooms, looking at things, stopping in front of the picture of his father on the wall. He stood there for a few seconds. I thought he might feel something, but he just shook his head and followed Brittany. They went to the barbecue pit. Brittany complained that it was old, ugly, outdated. We'll renovate everything. Stainless steel, modern LED lighting. It'll be a showstopper. And my mom, she'll never agree. Brittany shrugged. Then we don't ask for permission. We just do it. She'll get used to it. Just do it. As if I were a piece of furniture, something to be worked around. They stayed for about 2 hours. When they left the broken window open, not even bothering to close it properly. I immediately called Mr. Evans. I sent him the videos. Perfect, Mrs. Miller. Now we have the break-in on film. But hold your fire. Let's let them feel secure. But they broke into my house. I know, and it's going to cost them dearly, but at the right time. I trusted him because I didn't have much of a choice. I called a handyman to fix the window. We reinforced it with an internal lock. I spent another $150. Marlene was furious. Mrs. Miller, this is outrageous. How can a son do this to his own mother? I had no answer because it made no sense. None of it made sense. 2 days later, I got a message from Victoria. Mom, brace yourself. Brittany is planning a surprise birthday party for Daniel at the estate. She's not going to invite you. I read the message 3 times, thinking I had misunderstood. What do you mean she's not inviting me? It's my son's birthday at my estate. I know, Mom. I told her that. You know what she said? That you would cause a scene, that you would ruin the mood, that it was better to celebrate only with the people who really matter to him. The people who really matter. The mother who gave birth to him, raised him, paid for his college, gave him a down payment on his apartment. I didn't matter. When is it? The 15th, in 10 days. And Daniel knows I'm not being invited? A heavy silence on the other end. Victoria replied, He agrees with her, Mom. He said it would be less complicated without you there. Less complicated. I hung up the phone, sat on the bed, and had to hold onto the headboard to keep from fainting. Because it hurts. It hurts in a way words can't explain when your child erases you, excludes you, treats you like a nuisance. Did I cry? I cried until my throat was sore. But then I dried my tears, opened my laptop, and started planning. Because if they were going to have a party at my estate without inviting me, I was going to be there anyway. They just weren't going to like my presence. I called Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, change of plans. They're going to trespass on my property again, on the 15th, with dozens of witnesses, and this time I'll be there. He chuckled on the other end of the line. Mrs. Miller, what are you planning? Justice. August 15th, Daniel's 43rd birthday. I woke up at 6 a.m. I hadn't slept well all night. I kept tossing and turning, thinking of all the previous birthdays. When he was little, I'd wake up early to fill the house with balloons. I'd make his favorite carrot cake with chocolate frosting. We'd sing Happy Birthday as a family. Walter would play his out-of-tune guitar. We'd laugh. This year, I didn't even know if my son would remember I exist. I got up, went to the kitchen. I made that carrot cake. I don't know why. Maybe out of habit, maybe out of desperation. As I mixed the batter, I cried quietly, the tears falling into the bowl, mixing with the eggs and oil. I baked it, made the frosting, let it cool. I picked up the gift I'd bought weeks earlier, a genuine leather jacket, the kind he always said he wanted. $500. I wrapped it in craft paper with a burlap bow, just the way he liked. At 10 a.m., I called his cell phone. It rang and rang. Voicemail. Hi, it's Daniel. Leave a message. Son, it's Mom. Happy birthday. I love you very much. Call me when you can. I hung up, hand trembling. I waited an hour, 2 hours. I sent a text message. Happy birthday, my son. May God bless you always. I made your favorite cake. Can I bring it over so we can celebrate? 2 blue check marks. Seen at 11:34 a.m. No reply. Noon. Nothing. 1 p.m. Nothing. At 2 p.m. the phone rang. It was Victoria, a tearful voice. Mom, go on, honey. I didn't know how to tell you before. I thought maybe they'd change their minds, that Daniel would come to his senses, but... She sobbed. Mom, the party is happening now, at the estate. I already knew, but hearing it out loud hurt differently. There are a lot of people. More than 50 people, Mom. Expensive decorations, catering, a live band. Brittany hired everything, posted on her Instagram stories inviting everyone. And your brother? A heavy silence. He's happy, Mom. Smiling, taking pictures, getting birthday wishes. As if no one was missing, as if I wasn't missing. Thank you for telling me, honey. Mom, I tried. I swear I tried to talk to him, but he said it was better this way, that you'd feel uncomfortable. It's okay, Victoria. I know you tried. I hung up, took a deep breath, and did what I had to do. I opened Brittany's Instagram. There it was. Story after story. A boomerang of clinking glasses, a photo of a 3-tiered cake decorated with edible gold leaf. A video of Daniel blowing out candles while everyone sang happy birthday. And then, The photo that shattered my heart into 1,000 pieces. Daniel and Brittany embracing on the estate's porch. My porch, with the old oak tree that Walter and I planted in the background. The pool lit up. LED lights strung in the trees. The caption, "Our home, our party, our family. Happy birthday to the love of my life. Here in our refuge, surrounded by those who truly matter. Grateful for this blessed life and for this place that is our safe harbor. Blessed life. Family is everything, our home." 150 likes in half an hour. Comments praising them. What an amazing place, Brittany. Such a blessed couple. Dream estate. I want one just like it. You guys deserve all the best. No one asked about the birthday boy's mother. I scrolled through the stories. There was more. A video of guests in the pool, a barbecue at the pit Walter built, people dancing in the hall we raised brick by brick. And not once, not in a single photo, not a single mention did I exist. It was as if I had never been part of that story. I sat on the living room floor with the carrot cake still on the kitchen table, with the wrapped gift on the sofa, and I cried. I cried in a way I hadn't cried since Walter's funeral. Because you can prepare for a lot of things in life. For sickness, for death, for financial loss. But no one prepares you to be erased by your own child. No one teaches you how to survive when the person you brought into this world decides you don't even deserve a phone call on his birthday. Marlene called me around 6 p.m., her voice low, as if she were hiding. "Mrs. Helen, it's a madhouse here. Booze everywhere, people I've never seen, loud music. Brittany is ordering everyone around like she's the owner. And the worst part? Go on. Marlene. She's been showing the house to everyone, saying it's hers, that you passed it on to her and Daniel, that you live in the city and don't use it anymore. Mrs. Helen, she's lying to everyone." I closed my eyes. I breathed. "Marlene, go home. Get out of there before it gets late. We'll talk tomorrow." "But Mrs. Helen? Trust me, go." I hung up, picked up my phone, opened the security camera feed I had installed, and I watched. Every second, every laugh, every toast. I saw my son, happy, surrounded by people, receiving hugs, gifts, attention, and not once did he seem to remember me. That night, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the dark living room looking out the window, and I made the hardest decision a mother can make. I was going to put a stop to it, not with screams, not with tears, not with pleading, with consequences. Because love without limits becomes disrespect, and forgiveness without justice becomes permission to hurt you again. My son had chosen. He had chosen her. He had chosen the lie. He had chosen to erase me. So I was going to teach him a lesson I should have taught him a long time ago. That a mother is not a doormat, that generosity is not weakness, and that every action has a reaction. I picked up the phone and texted Mr. Evans. "Mr. Evans, I want to sue. Trespassing, unauthorized use, emotional distress. I want everything documented and filed on Monday." The reply came in seconds. "At your service, Mrs. Helen. We will get justice." I turned off my phone, and for the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. Because war had been declared. And this time, I was going to win. Monday morning, I woke up different. The weight on my chest was gone. The urge to cry was gone. I had clarity. I took a long shower, got dressed, put on lipstick. I wore the navy blue blouse Walter always said made me look stronger, and I went straight to Mr. Evans's office. I arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. He was already waiting for me with fresh coffee and a folder full of documents. "Mrs. Miller, reviewing everything you sent me, here's what we have." He opened the folder. Trespassing, documented on video, twice. Breaking and entering. Unauthorized use of the property. Unauthorized copying of keys. Attempted psychological coercion via WhatsApp group. Slander. Claiming you are incapable of managing your assets. I listened to every word, mentally calculating. How much can that get in damages? He took off his glasses. In a lawsuit between $50 $100 and $100 $100 for emotional distress, plus recovery of any profits made from using the property and repair costs. But Mrs. Miller, he leaned forward, a lawsuit is a long, draining war. Do you really want that? I was silent for a few seconds, thinking. Mr. Evans, I don't want to destroy my son, but I need him to understand that what he did was wrong, gravely wrong. I want him to feel the consequences firsthand. Mr. Evans smiled faintly. Then let's do something different. We'll assemble the complete file. We'll file it with the court as a pre-action letter. It will be on record, ready to be activated. In the meantime, you will prepare, let's say, a practical lesson. What kind of lesson? You told me they're planning to have another party at the estate, right? From the WhatsApp chats I saw, they feel like they own the place. They'll do it again. I hadn't thought of that, but it made sense. If they did it once and got away with it, they'd do it again. And what do? Let it happen. Document everything. And when they're there, right in the middle of the party with witnesses, you show up as the owner and make it very clear that it is your property in front of everyone. My heart sped up. But won't that be dangerous? Too embarrassing? Exactly. Public embarrassment is one of the most effective consequences. Because it doesn't hurt the wallet, it hurts their image. And for people like Brittany, who live on appearances, that's devastating. I liked the idea, but there was a problem. What if they kick me out? It's my house, but it's 50 people against me. Mr. Evans stood up, went to his file cabinet, and came back with a paper. That's why you're going to do this. You'll file a preliminary police report. State that there have been prior invasions, that you fear new ones, and that any unauthorized event on the property will be considered a crime. With that, you have legal grounds to call the police at any moment. I filed the police report that same afternoon, at the local precinct. The sergeant, a man in his 50s, was indignant when I told him the story. Ma'am, this is definitely a police matter. If it happens again, you call us. We'll send a car right over. I left the station with the report in hand and a plan forming in my head. But I didn't just want embarrassment. I wanted impact. I wanted them to feel what I felt. Abandonment, fear, powerlessness. That's when I had the idea. I went back to the estate that week. Marlene was there, cleaning up the mess still left from the party. Marlene, I need your help with something. Anything, Mrs. Helen. Do you know where the power generator is? She frowned. I do. It's out back, near the storage shed. Why? I want to install a remote control on it, the kind that can shut it off from a distance. She widened her eyes, then she smiled. Mrs. Helen, are you planning what I think you're planning? Depends. What are you thinking? Cutting the power in the middle of their next little party. I smiled back. Exactly. I called a trusted electrician, Mr. Johnson, who had worked in the area for 30 years. I explained the situation briefly. He, indignant, installed a remote control system via a phone app. It cost $300, but it was worth every penny. Mrs. Helen, now you can control the generator from the city. If you want, turn it on and off with your phone. Maximum security. We tested it. It worked perfectly. But something was still missing. Emotional impact. Something that would leave a mark. That's when I remembered the sound system Walter had installed years ago to play ambient music. The speakers were scattered around the outdoor area, the barbecue pit, the pool, the party hall. I called a sound technician. I explained that I wanted to connect the speakers to a system I could control remotely. He found it strange but did the job. Another $500. Now I had total control, power and sound. I recorded a message with a distorted, deep voice using an audio modification app. This property has an owner, and she is watching every single one of you. You trespassed. You lied. You stole. Everything is being recorded. The authorities have been notified. Leave now. I saved it on my phone. I tested the volume. Perfect. It was scary even to me. Marlene heard it and laughed nervously. Mrs. Helen, if I were a trespasser and heard that in the dark, I'd run for my life. That's precisely the goal. I also installed additional cameras. Now I had 6, covering all angles, HD quality, cloud recording. In total, I spent almost $2,000 on preparations. Money that hurt to take out of my savings, but it was an investment in dignity. Victoria called me the following Wednesday. Mom, Brittany is organizing another party, a barbecue next weekend for her friends. My heart pounded. Are you sure? Positive. I saw it in the group. She said that now that they've taken possession, they're going to use it whenever they want. Taken possession. Victoria, don't try to stop it. Let it happen. Mom, you're not going to do anything, I smiled to myself. Oh, I am, but in my own time. I hung up, opened my calendar, marked the date. Saturday. 5 days from now. 5 days to wait, 5 days to prepare. 5 days for them to feel like owners. And then, at the peak of the party, when they were laughing, drinking, celebrating on top of my sweat, I would appear in a way they never expected. In the dark. Saturday arrived. I woke up at 6 a.m. with my stomach in knots. It wasn't nervousness, it was anticipation. That feeling you get when you know something big is about to happen and there's no turning back. I had a calm breakfast. Toast, black coffee, papaya. I needed to keep a clear head. Uncontrolled emotions ruin plans. Victoria called me at 9. Mom, they're on their way to the estate. Brittany rented a van to bring her friends. She posted on her stories, BBQ day at our estate with the besties. Mom, I have this tight feeling in my chest. Stay calm, honey. Today things are going to change. What are you going to do? Justice. I hung up before she could ask more questions. The fewer people who knew, the better. I got in my car at 10 a.m. and drove to the Hudson Valley. An hour and a half on the road. I put classical music on the radio. I needed to stay calm. I arrived at the estate at 11:45. I didn't go in through the main gate. I used a secondary access road that only Walter and I knew about, at the back of the property. A little dirt road that leads to an old guest house, hidden among the trees. No one else even remembered it existed. I parked there, went into the guest house. It smelled of mildew and dust, but it had a perfect window with a view of the party area. I opened my phone, accessed the cameras. They were already there. I counted at least 60 people. The barbecue pit was fired up and smoking. Tables were set with red checkered tablecloths. Cases of beer were stacked up. A speaker was blasting country music. Brittany was wearing a white dress, a straw hat, and big sunglasses, posing for a photo. Daniel was next to her in shorts and a polo shirt, smiling broadly. I watched on the video as she greeted the guests. Guys, welcome to our estate. Make yourselves at home. The house is yours. Our estate, the house is yours. A blonde woman in a bikini commented, Brittany, this place is insane. You're so lucky, girl. Brittany flipped her hair. Not luck, sweetie. Achievement. We worked really hard for this. Worked hard. My hand squeezed the phone so tight I thought it would break. The hours passed slowly. Me, hiding, watching. Them, drinking, laughing, jumping in the pool, playing volleyball on the field Walter had leveled himself. Brittany gave an impromptu interview to a friend who was recording for her stories. Britt, tell everyone how you acquired this paradise. She smiled, that cynical smile I knew so well. Oh, it was a process, you know. The property was kind of abandoned. The owner couldn't take care of it anymore. We took over, renovated it, brought it back to life. Now it's our refuge. Abandoned. The owner couldn't take care of it anymore. I felt rage rise in my throat like bile. But I took a deep breath. Uncontrolled anger doesn't solve anything. Strategic anger does. It was 10:30 p.m. The party was at its peak. Loud music, people dancing, laughter echoing. Brittany climbed onto a chair, glass in hand, asking for attention. Everyone, I want to make a toast. The crowd quieted down, glasses raised. I want to thank God for this blessed life, for this amazing place that is now ours, and for each and every one of you who are part of our family. Life is about achievements. It's about deserving. And today we celebrate everything we've achieved. Applause, shouts of cheers, people clinking glasses. I looked at the clock. 10:50 p.m., 10 minutes. I opened the generator app. My finger was on the off button. I opened the sound app. The audio file was ready. I waited, counting the seconds, my heart beating in time. 11:00 p.m. I took a deep breath and pressed click. Absolute darkness for a second. Total silence. The kind of silence that comes before chaos. Then the scream started. What happened? Did the power go out? Does anyone have a flashlight? The sound of people tripping, chairs falling. Someone yelled they had fallen into the pool. Cell phones lit up like desperate fireflies. I waited another 10 seconds, letting the panic build. Then I pressed play. My voice, distorted, deep, came from all the speakers at once, echoing across the entire property as if from an entity. This property has an owner. The scream stopped, a terrified silence. And she is watching every single one of you. Someone screamed, "What is that? You trespassed. You lied. You stole. Every move is being recorded. The authorities have been notified." A stampede. People screaming, tripping. Someone knocked over the cake table. "Leave now!" It was chaos. A desperate mass of people trying to find the exit. People leaving behind purses, flip-flops, cell phones. They just wanted out. I heard someone crying, another yelling it was witchcraft. Brittany was shouting, "Calm down, everyone. It's just a prank. Someone's playing a joke." But no one believed her. Fear had overcome reason. People ran for the van, for their cars, for anywhere away from there. I waited 5 minutes until the chaos subsided. Then I turned on the emergency lights, just a few. Just enough to illuminate the main area. And I walked out of the guest house. I walked slowly toward the porch of the main house. Every step firm, every breath controlled. I went up the steps, stood under the light, and there, illuminated like an apparition, I looked down at the 20 or so people still frozen in fear. Brittany was in the middle of them, hair disheveled, her hat on the ground, eyes wide. Daniel was beside her, pale as a ghost. I opened my arms and said in a calm but cutting voice, "Good evening. I am the owner of this property, and you are trespassing in my home." Absolute silence. No one moved. And then Brittany, finding her voice, yelled, "Helen, what is this madness?" I walked down the steps slowly, my eyes fixed on her. Madness. Madness was you stealing the key to my house. Madness was you throwing a party here without my permission. Twice. Madness was you lying to the whole world, saying this place was yours. Daniel took a step forward. His voice trembled. "Mom, can we talk?" "Now you want to talk, Daniel? After excluding me from your own birthday? After letting this woman erase me from your life?" He lowered his head. That's when the first blue lights appeared. The police. The patrol car came through the main gate, its lights cutting through the darkness like blue blades. 2 officers got out. An older one with a gray mustache, the posture of someone who's seen it all. A younger one, notebook in hand. Brittany turned to me, her voice hysterical. "You called the police on your own family," I answered calmly, looking her in the eye. "I called them on trespassers. Family respects you. Family doesn't steal." The older officer approached. "Good evening. We received a complaint of trespassing. Who is the property owner here?" I stepped forward. "I am Helen Miller. I have the deed. The property taxes are up to date. And a preliminary police report filed against unauthorized intrusions on this property." I showed him the documents on my phone. He checked them, looked around, saw the people still paralyzed, the party tables, the mess. "And are these people here with your permission?" "No, none of them. This is the second invasion in less than a month. I have it all on film from the security cameras." Daniel took a desperate step forward. "Officer, there's been a misunderstanding. This is my mother. I'm her son. We were." The officer held up a hand, cutting him off. "You're the son, not the owner. Whose name is on the deed?" An awkward silence. "Only mine," I said firmly. "My late husband left me as the sole heir. My children have no legal claim to this property while I am alive. And I never authorized any parties here." Brittany exploded. "This is ridiculous. She's going crazy, officer. Senile. We're just taking care of what she can no longer manage." The younger officer looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "And who are you in this story, ma'am?" "Her daughter-in-law, married to her son." "I see. And do you have power of attorney? Any document that gives you the right to use the property?" Brittany choked on her words. "I don't need one. I'm family." "Legally, ma'am, Family doesn't grant automatic property rights. If the owner filed a report and did not give permission, this constitutes trespassing. That's when Brittany's mask fell off completely. She turned to me, finger pointing, her voice filled with venom. You're a bitter old woman. You can't stand to see your son happy. You've always been controlling, possessive. Daniel is trapped by you. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, and in that silence, I let everyone there see who the unhinged person really was. The older officer intervened. That's enough. Show some respect, please. You have the right to be upset, but not to disrespect the property owner. Then he turned to all the guests who were still standing there, paralyzed, some recording everything on their phones. Folks, this is private property, and you are here without permission. I suggest you all leave now in an orderly fashion before we have to issue a citation to each and every one of you. It was like opening a floodgate. People scrambled to grab their things, apologizing, disappearing in less than 5 minutes. All that was left was me, the police officers, Daniel, Brittany, Victoria, and Rob, who had arrived in the middle of the chaos. Victoria ran to hug me. Mom, my God, are you okay? I am, honey. Now I am. Daniel was leaning against a wall, head down, as if he wanted to disappear. The officer took everyone's details, wrote everything down, took pictures of the mess, the barbecue pit, the tables. Mrs. Miller, do you want to file a formal report? I looked at my son, at the man I had given birth to, whom I had loved unconditionally, who was now standing there, broken, ashamed. And a part of me wanted to say, let it go. He's my son. I'll forgive him. But the other part, the part that had been humiliated, excluded, stolen from, said, no. This time I want trespassing, unauthorized use, property damage. I want everything on record. Daniel lifted his head, his eyes red. Mom, please. No, Daniel. You taught me something important these past few weeks. You taught me that love without limits becomes disrespect. That generosity without consequence becomes permission to hurt. So today, I'm being the mother I should have been before, the one who sets boundaries. Brittany let out a bitter laugh. Boundaries? You're destroying your son over a piece of land. I turned to her, and this time my voice was sharp as glass. It's not a piece of land. It's 30 years of sweat. It's my husband's calloused hands. It's the Sundays we didn't rest to build this place. It's where his ashes are. It's memory. It's dignity. Things you will never understand. Because to you, everything is a selfie, a like, an appearance. She turned red but didn't retort. The officers finished their report. Mrs. Miller, this will go to the station. You'll need to come in on Monday to formalize it. Bring the property documents. Your husband's death certificate? Anything that proves you are the sole owner? I will. They left, the sound of the patrol car fading down the road. We stood there on the estate, lit by the moon. The silence was different now. It wasn't fear. It was surrender. Victoria held my hand. Rob stood beside her, his head bowed. Daniel finally spoke, his voice broken. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't realize it had gotten to this point. I took a deep breath. You didn't realize because you didn't want to. Because it was easier to believe her than to see the truth. Because you chose comfort over character. I know I was wrong. You weren't just wrong, Daniel. You betrayed me. You excluded me. You erased me. And you did it all consciously. Don't come to me now with, I didn't realize. You knew. He started to cry. Heavy sobs, his shoulders shaking. And seeing my son crying there, I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel the urge to hug him and say it was all okay. I felt justice. Because sometimes, true love isn't about protecting someone from pain. It's about letting the pain teach them. Brittany pulled at his arm. Let's go, honey. Your mother isn't worth this. But Daniel pulled his arm away. For the first time, he pulled away. No, Brittany, you're the one who isn't worth it. Her eyes widened. What? You manipulated me, you pushed me away from my mother, you made me believe lies, and I was stupid enough to let you. Daniel, are you crazy? No. For the first time in months, I'm thinking clearly. It was the last straw for her. Brittany looked at all of us, saw that she had lost, and ran. Literally ran. She grabbed her purse, which was lying on the ground, and disappeared through the gate. I never saw her again. Brittany vanished into the darkness. The sound of her heels clicking on the dirt road grew fainter and fainter until it disappeared completely. Daniel stood there, staring at where she had gone. Hands in his pockets, breathing heavily. No one said anything for a few seconds. It was Victoria who broke the silence. "Daniel, are you okay?" He let out a bitter laugh. "Okay? I just found out I'm an idiot, that I've spent months being manipulated, that I hurt my own mother because of a woman who only wanted an estate. I finished for him. She wanted an estate, status, pretty pictures to post. It was never about you, son. It was about what you could give her." He turned to me, eyes swollen, face a wreck. "How can you even look at me now after everything I've done?" I crossed my arms. "I wasn't going to make it easy, not this time. Because you're my son. But that doesn't mean I'm going to pretend everything is okay. Because it's not. I know. You excluded me from your birthday, Daniel. Your birthday. I made the cake you've always loved and sat alone in my apartment while you celebrated here, at the estate my father and I built, without even remembering I exist." He covered his face with his hands. "Mom, don't..." Let me finish. My voice was firm, but tears were welling up. "You allowed that woman to lie to everyone, saying this place was hers. You stood by silently while she invented stories that this property was abandoned, that I couldn't take care of it anymore. You turned me into a senile old woman." "I didn't know she said that," he yelled desperately. "I swear, Mom, I didn't know it had gotten to that point." "But you knew you were excluding me," I shouted back. "You knew you were hurting me, and you chose to do it anyway because it was more comfortable for you, because it was easier to push me away than to confront her." Rob put a hand on Victoria's shoulder, who was crying softly. Daniel fell to his knees, literally there on the stone porch. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I don't even know how to ask for forgiveness for something like this." I looked at him, at my 43-year-old son, a successful lawyer, always so sure of himself, now broken on the floor. And I felt something I didn't expect to feel: pity. But not the kind of pity that forgives easily. The kind that hurts, that acknowledges the damage. "Get up, Daniel." He looked up. "Mom, get up." He staggered to his feet. I took a step toward him. "You want my forgiveness? Then you're going to have to earn it. And not with tears, but with actions. By proving day after day that you understand the gravity of what you've done." "I will. I swear I will." "Start now. Tell me, did you really believe I couldn't take care of this estate anymore? Or was it just convenient to believe that?" He swallowed hard, looked away. "Look at me, Daniel." He looked up. "Answer me." A heavy silence. Then, in a low voice, he said, I knew you could." But Brittany kept insisting, saying it was for your own good, that eventually you'd thank us. And I wanted to believe it because it was easier. It was the most honest answer he'd given me in months. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you for finally being honest." Victoria came closer. "Mom, what's going to happen now?" I took a deep breath. "On Monday, I'm going to the police station. I'm going to formalize the complaint. Trespassing, unauthorized use, property damage." Daniel went pale. "You're going to press charges against me?" "I'm pressing charges against whoever invaded my property. If your name is on that list, then yes." "Mom, please." I held up a hand. "Daniel, there are consequences. You're a lawyer. You know that better than anyone. Don't ask me to pat you on the head now that you're sorry. Remorse doesn't erase a crime." Rob, who had been quiet the whole time, spoke up. "Mrs. Miller, with all due respect, do you think this will solve anything? Suing your own son?" I looked at him. "Rob, I'm not seeking revenge. I'm seeking justice. And there's a difference. Revenge is personal, irrational, disproportionate. Justice is a deserved consequence, and my son deserves the consequences of his actions. Victoria wiped her tears. Mom, I understand you, but will the family survive this? That was the question that broke me, because I didn't know the answer. Victoria, family isn't just about blood. It's about respect. It's about loyalty. It's about being there. And for the past few weeks, I haven't had a family. I've had invaders. Daniel sobbed. Mom, give me a chance. Just one. Let me fix this. How? How are you going to fix humiliation? How are you going to fix exclusion? How are you going to fix me being left alone, crying, while you celebrated without me? He had no answer. That's just it, Daniel. Some things can't be fixed. You just learn to live with the damage. I picked up my bag and walked toward the car. Mom, where are you going? Victoria asked, worried. Home, to my apartment in the city where I live, alone, as always. Let me drive you. No need, honey, I'm a good driver. I always have been. I got in the car, started the engine, and looked in the rearview mirror. Daniel was still standing on the porch. Victoria was hugging Rob, all of them broken. And I was tired, exhausted, but strangely whole. Because for the first time in months, I had defended my dignity. I had said no. I had set boundaries. And even though it hurt, even though my heart was in pieces, I knew I had done the right thing. I drove back to the city in silence. No music, no radio, just me and the dark road. When I got to my apartment, it was 2 a.m. I took a shower, put on my pajamas, got into bed, and for the first time in weeks, I slept without nightmares. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from reconciliation. It comes from justice served. And I had served mine. But the story wasn't over yet, because Monday was coming, and with it, decisions that would change everything. Monday, 8 a.m. I woke up before my alarm, not because I was anxious, but because I was decided. I had coffee, dressed carefully, black dress pants, a white blouse, my hair tied back. I wanted to look presentable, respectable, because today I wasn't just Helen, the hurt mother. I was Helen Miller, property owner, citizen, a woman with rights. I went to the police station first. I brought everything. The deed to the estate, Walter's death certificate, property tax receipts, screenshots of the WhatsApp messages, the security camera footage of the invasions, the receipt for the new locks, everything. The sergeant received me personally. Sergeant Marilis, about 55, with a serious demeanor. Mrs. Miller, I got the report from the officers who were out on Saturday. Did you bring all the documentation? I did. It's all here. He spent over an hour reviewing it all, slowly, taking notes. Every now and then he would shake his head in disbelief. When he finished, he took off his glasses and looked at me. Mrs. Miller, this is a serious matter. Trespassing, unauthorized use, unauthorized copying of keys, damage to property, and what's worse, it's your own son. That complicates things. Why does it complicate things? A crime is a crime. He sighed. Legally, yes. But are you sure you want to go through with this? Lawsuits against a child tend to destroy entire families. I was silent for a few seconds, thinking, Sergeant, if I do nothing, what am I teaching him? That disrespect has no consequences? That a mother has to swallow everything in silence? He nodded slowly. You have a point. I just wanted to make sure it was a conscious decision. It is entirely conscious. Then we'll file the report. You'll need to come back on Thursday to sign some papers, and there will likely be a conciliation hearing in about 30 days. You can schedule it. I left the station with the report confirmation in hand, my heart heavy but my steps firm. From there, I went straight to Mr. Evans's office. He greeted me with strong coffee and that look of someone who was expecting my visit. Mrs. Miller, how did it go? It's filed. The sergeant said it's a serious case. Excellent. What now? Shall we also file a civil suit? I shook my head. I haven't decided yet. But there's something else I want to do today. Right now. Go on. I want to redo my will. He raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Positive. And I want to do something else. I want a public declaratory deed of exclusive ownership. To have it documented at the county clerk's office that the estate is mine, that no one has any right to it while I'm alive, and that any attempt to question that is null and void. Mr. Evans took notes. That's wise. It protects you from future attempts at adverse possession or claims of shared ownership. Then let's do it. He prepared the documents right there. 2 hours later, we were at a notary's office downtown. The notary, Mrs. Davis, an elegant woman in her 60s, read everything carefully. Mrs. Miller, are you certain about these testamentary dispositions? They are. Unusual. I'm certain. She read it aloud, as was protocol. I hereby bequeath the rural property located in the Hudson Valley, NY, parcel number 4587, as follows: 50% to my daughter, Victoria Miller Thompson, and 50% to the Rebuild Institute, an organization supporting female victims of domestic violence. My son, Daniel Miller, is expressly excluded from this inheritance, as provided for in the state's probate code, for acts of unworthiness. Daniel, disinherited. My heart ached, but I didn't back down. The notary continued, You understand that this exclusion is final, and that your son would need to legally prove his moral rehabilitation if he wishes to contest it? I understand. And you understand that he can contest it? He can, but he will lose because I have proof of everything he did. I signed. I had it notarized. I filed it. When I left the notary's office at 4 p.m., I had 2 documents in my hands that changed everything. 1, a declaratory deed of exclusive ownership. 2, a legally registered will with immediate legal validity. I sat on a bench in the square across from the office, held the papers, and cried. Not with regret, but with relief. Because finally my property was protected, my will was documented, my dignity was safeguarded. My cell phone rang. It was Daniel. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, and again, 5 times. On the 6th, I answered. Mom, we need to talk about everything. Please, meet me, just for half an hour. I sighed. Where? At the cafe near your apartment, the one you like. I'm waiting here. I hung up, put the documents in my purse, and went. When I arrived, he was at a corner table with deep dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, his clothes wrinkled. I sat across from him without a word of greeting. He tried to smile but couldn't. Thanks for coming. Just say what you want, I have things to do. He took a deep breath and slid an envelope across the table. This is a check for $25,000 for the damages to the estate, cleaning, repairs, everything. And this? He slid another paper. It's a signed confession, taking full responsibility for the invasions, absolving you of any blame. If you want to use it in a lawsuit, you can. I looked at the papers without touching them. And why are you doing this? Because I was gravely wrong. And because I lost Brittany, Mom. She disappeared, blocked my number. I found out she had 3 credit cards in my name that I didn't know about, with almost $15,000 in debt. I found out she was having an affair with a personal trainer. I found out that everything was a lie. I didn't feel pity. I felt something worse, indifference. And what do you want me to do with that information? He choked up. I just wanted you to know that I found out. That I was an idiot. That you were right. Daniel, I don't need you to tell me I was right. I already knew that. What I need is for you to understand that some things can't be fixed with a check. I then placed a copy of the registered will on the table. He picked it up, read it, and the color drained from his face. Mom, you disinherited me? I did. Why? I leaned forward. Because you betrayed me. Because you humiliated me. Because you chose a liar over the truth. And because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life afraid that you'll do it again. He started to tremble. But Mom, I'm your son. And I'm your mother. But not even blood justifies disrespect. I stood up, grabbed my purse. I'll accept the check. I'll accept the letter. But the will stays as it is. If you truly want my forgiveness, you'll have to prove it, with years of actions, not 2 weeks of crying. I walked out of the cafe. He didn't follow me. March 2025, 6 months after the blackout. I was at the estate, pruning the rose bushes Walter had planted. The afternoon sun was warm on my back, but it was a good warmth. The sweat of honest work. Marlene was in the kitchen making coffee. The smell drifted through the window, mixed with the fragrance of the flowers. My cell phone rang. Victoria. Hi, honey. Mom, I'm heading over with the kids. I'll be there in an hour. Should I bring anything? Just yourselves. I already made cornbread. Perfect. Love you. Love you too. I hung up, smiling. Victoria had become my partner for weekends at the estate. She, Rob, and my grandkids, Leo and Mia, came every week. We'd cook together, play soccer, watch movies on the porch. The estate had become a home again, not a graveyard of grievances. The lawsuit against Daniel was still pending. The conciliation hearing was scheduled for 2 months from now. Mr. Evans thought they would propose a settlement. I still hadn't decided if I would accept. Brittany had completely vanished. I heard through the grapevine that she had gone back upstate, was living with her parents, and was being sued for debts. Her divorce from Daniel was finalized in 45 days. He didn't contest anything, didn't ask for anything. He just wanted to be done with it. And Daniel. Daniel. For the first 2 months, he called every day. I didn't answer. He sent messages. I read them but didn't reply. He deposited the $25,000 for damages, sent the notarized confession, paid off all the debts Brittany had racked up in his name. In the 3rd month, he stopped calling every day. He started sending 1 message a week. Simple. Good morning, Mom. Hope you're well. I miss you. I would read it, but I still wouldn't reply. In the 4th month, he showed up at my apartment door unannounced with a bouquet of daisies, my favorite flowers. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Hi, Mom. Hi. An awkward silence. I just wanted to bring you these and say that I understand if you never forgive me, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to earn a second chance. I took the flowers. Thank you. He waited, hoping I would say more. I didn't. Okay. Well, I'll be going. Bye, Mom. Bye, Daniel. I closed the door, put the flowers in a vase, and cried. Because forgiving is hard. Sometimes it hurts more than holding a grudge. In the 5th month, Victoria came to talk to me. She was serious. Mom, I need to talk to you about Daniel. My stomach clenched. Is he okay? Did something happen? He's different. He started therapy 3 times a week. He's volunteering at a nursing home. He sold his imported car and bought a simple one, moved into a smaller apartment. Mom, he's rebuilding himself. I was silent, processing. And did he ask you to tell me this? No. He made me swear not to. He said he doesn't want it to seem like manipulation, that he wants you to forgive him when and if you want to, with no pressure. That moved me in a way I didn't expect. Then why are you telling me? Victoria held my hand. Because you're my mother, and I see you suffering. I see you looking at your phone, waiting for his message. I see you keeping the flowers he brings. Mom, you want to forgive him, you're just scared. She was right. I was scared. Scared to forgive and be hurt again. Scared to open the door and find out it was a trap. Victoria, I don't know if I can. You don't have to know right now. Just think about it. Because he's your son and you're his mother, and I know this is hurting you both. She left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. And that night I made a decision. I picked up my phone and typed, Daniel, there's lunch at the estate on Sunday, noon. Don't be late. I sent it before I could change my mind. The reply came in 30 seconds. I'll be there, Mom. Thank you. And now, 6 months after the blackout, I was here, pruning rose bushes, waiting for my daughter to arrive, waiting for Sunday to come. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means giving a chance to rebuild, with boundaries, with caution, but with hope. The gate bell rang. Victoria was here. I went to open it with a lighter heart. Leo and Mia ran out of the car and hugged me with that childish energy that heals any wound. Grandma, we brought a new ball. Let's play. Let's go. That afternoon, we played soccer. We had a picnic in the shade of the old oak tree. Victoria helped me plant new herb seedlings in the garden. And as the sun began to set, we all sat on the porch. Me, Victoria, Rob, Leo, Mia, sipping iced tea, watching the sky turn orange. Grandma, Leo asked, is Uncle Daniel really coming on Sunday? He is. I haven't seen him in a long time. I know, sweetie. It's been a while. Are you still mad at him? I looked at my grandson, at his innocent eyes, and I answered honestly, not anymore. I'm tired of being mad. Now I just want peace. Mia, who is 7, climbed into my lap. Grandma, my teacher says forgiving is like cleaning your room. You get rid of the mess so you can live better. I smiled. I hugged her. Your teacher is very wise. That night, after everyone had gone home, I stayed alone on the porch looking at the stars, having a silent conversation with Walter. Honey, I think I'm doing the right thing. I think you'd approve. I know you always said family is sacred, but you also taught me that respect is the foundation of everything. So I'm trying to balance the two. To forgive, but not to forget. To rebuild, but with boundaries. The wind rustled the leaves of the oak tree. It felt like an answer. I smiled. I got up, locked the house. Sunday was coming, and with it, a new chance. I didn't know how it would be. I didn't know if it would work, but I knew I had to try. Because a mother's love doesn't die. It just learns, matures, transforms. And I had learned the hardest lesson of all. Loving isn't about allowing everything. It's about knowing when to say no and knowing when to say yes. Sunday noon, the table was set. It would be a fragile, careful, but real new beginning. And sometimes, that's enough. Sunday, 11:45 a.m. I was in the kitchen seasoning a steak when I heard a car at the entrance. My heart pounded. I wiped my hands on my apron. I took a deep breath. Through the window, I saw Daniel getting out of his car. Simple jeans, a white shirt, a bouquet of flowers in his hand. Not expensive ones from a florist. They were the kind you buy at a farmer's market. Colorful, simple, honest. He stopped in front of the door, hesitant, as if silently asking for permission to enter. I went to the door. I opened it. We stood there looking at each other. Mother and son, 2 strangers trying to recognize each other after the storm. Hi, Mom. Hi, son. Come in. He entered slowly, looking at everything as if seeing it for the first time, or as if he were afraid it would all disappear. These are for you. Thank you. I'll put them in water. While I arranged the flowers in a vase, he stood in the living room, hands in his pockets, uncomfortable. Sit down, Daniel. Don't just stand there. He sat on the edge of the sofa, like a guest, not a son. I brought 2 glasses of passion fruit juice. I sat in the armchair across from him. Silence. He was the one who broke it. Mom, I've rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but now that I'm here, I don't know where to start. Start wherever you can. No embellishments. Just the truth. He nodded, took a deep breath. I've spent these 6 months deconstructing myself, going to therapy, understanding where I went wrong. And Mom, I was wrong about everything. In my inaction, in my cowardice, in choosing to be blind to the manipulation. I put a woman I barely knew above the mother who gave me life. I listened in silence. And the worst part is, deep down, I knew. I knew I was wrong. But it was easier to pretend I didn't. It was more comfortable to blame you for being difficult than to admit I was being a horrible son. His voice cracked, but he didn't cry. He just continued. I didn't come here to ask you to forget. I know you can't forget this. I came to ask for a chance to prove that I've changed, that I understand, and that I will never let anyone disrespect you again, not even myself. I just looked at him, at the 43-year-old man who once again looked like the 8-year-old boy I knew. Humble, honest, vulnerable. Daniel, you hurt me in a way I didn't even know was possible. You made me feel disposable, invisible, as if 43 years of devotion meant nothing. I know, but I held up a hand. I also learned something in these 6 months. I learned that holding a grudge hurts me more than it punishes you. I learned that a mother's love doesn't just disappear, but it needs respect to survive. And I learned that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's courage. He looked up, hopeful. So, yes, I forgive you. The tears he had been holding back finally fell, silent, heavy. But I remained firm. Forgiving doesn't mean going back to how things were. It means rebuilding something new, with boundaries, with truth, with respect. If you cross those boundaries again, there won't be a third chance. He nodded desperately. I won't. I swear. And there's one more thing. I stood up, went to my purse, and came back with a paper. The will stays as it is. The estate goes to Victoria and the Institute. That doesn't change. I saw the pain flash across his face, but he swallowed it. He accepted it. I understand, and I deserve it. I didn't come here for an inheritance, Mom. I came because I can't stand living without you anymore. It was that sentence that broke me. I stood up, went to him, and finally, after 6 months, I hugged my son. He fell apart in my arms, crying like a child, and I cried with him. Because forgiving hurts, but not forgiving hurts more. We stayed there for I don't know how long. I only know that when we separated, something had changed. The weight was gone. Come on, let's make lunch together. In the kitchen, he chopped vegetables while I made the side dishes. We talked about his therapy, about his volunteer work at the nursing home, about how he had discovered how much superficial stuff there was in his life. You know what's funny, Mom? I thought the estate was about assets, but it's not. It's about belonging. It's about having a place that accepts you, that holds your history. And I almost destroyed that. Almost, but you didn't, because I didn't let you. He smiled. You're too strong. I'm not strong. I just got tired of being a doormat. At 1 p.m., Victoria arrived with her family. When she saw Daniel, she stopped, looked at me. I nodded that everything was okay. She ran and hugged her brother. I missed you, you idiot. I missed you too, Vic. Leo and Mia, shy at first, were soon hanging all over their uncle. Daniel played soccer with them, told bad jokes, made funny faces. He was back to being the uncle they knew. During lunch, we all sat at the table on the porch, eating steak, salads, laughing, remembering old stories. At some point, I looked around. My children, my grandchildren, my bountiful table, my living estate. And I felt Walter there, in the breeze, in the scent of the old oak tree, in the sun hitting the wood of the table he had made. Victoria raised her glass. A toast to family, to new beginnings, and to the bravest mother I know. Everyone raised their glasses. Daniel looked at me. To you, Mom, for teaching us that love has limits, and that limits are love. We toasted, and in that moment, I understood. The estate wasn't just land, it was a lesson. About dignity, about not letting yourself be erased, about forgiving without erasing yourself. After lunch, we stayed on the porch watching the sunset. Daniel sat beside me in respectful silence. Mom, can I ask you something? You can. Why did you give me this chance, even after everything? I looked at him, at the man I had brought into this world, who had hurt me, but who had also come back. Because a child isn't disposable, Daniel. It's a lifelong responsibility. And sometimes loving means letting them fall so they can learn to get up. You fell, but you got up. And that matters. He held my hand. Thank you. Don't thank me. Respect me. For the rest of your life. I will, I promise. We stayed there until it got dark, watching the stars appear one by one, just like we always did when he was little. And for the first time in months, I felt something I had forgotten what it was like to feel. Hope. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. I know it was long, I know it was painful, but it needed to be told. Because there are so many women out there going through what I went through, being disrespected by the people who should protect them, being manipulated, excluded, erased. And I want you to know, You don't have to accept it. Respect is not optional. Dignity is non-negotiable. And love that hurts isn't love. It's a cage. I learned that generosity without limits becomes abuse. Forgiveness without justice becomes permission to hurt you again. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect. A mother isn't a doormat. She's a human being with rights. Sometimes loving is knowing when to say no. Today, 6 months after the blackout, my life isn't back to how it was. It's better. Because now I have something I didn't have before. Boundaries. Daniel is still proving he's changed day after day. And I watch him, with love, but also with caution. The estate remains mine. And it will remain mine because I earned every inch of it. And you? Are you allowing someone to erase you? Are you accepting disrespect in the name of keeping the peace? Because I discovered something. True peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from justice. So, if this story touched you, let me ask you a question. What do you need to turn off in your life to get your light back? Think about it. Because no one deserves to live in the dark. I'm Helen. I'm 68 years old, a widow, a mother, a grandmother, a property owner, and the author of my own story. Just as you should be of yours. If this account impacted you in any way, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Leave a like if you believe that dignity is non-negotiable. And subscribe to the channel to continue following real stories of people who stood up when everyone thought they would fall. Because life isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up with your head held high. Until the next story. And remember, your light is yours. No one has the right to put it out. The end.